Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So let us start. Today is our last class on Sri Upadeśāmṛtam. With this, we will complete Sri Upadeśāmṛtam, and then for Bhakti Shastri students, we need to plan test and all that stuff, but we will talk about that offline. So we will start first with Mangalacharan prayers. And let me share my screen. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. One sec. So let us now recite all of the 11 verses today of Sri Upadeśāmṛtam. So we will go to Veda base. So you all can unmute and we can recite all the 11 verses. This will be the only day today when we will recite all. So please, we will do it in lead follow format. So we will do it, and if you would like, you can unmute and follow line by line. Vacho vegam manasah krodha vegam.
Vacho vegam manasah krodha vegam. Manasah krodha vegam. Vegam vegam.
Etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha.
Etan vegan yo vishaheta
Sarvamapi mam prithivim sashishyat.
Sarvamapi mam prithivim sashishyat.
Atyaharaha prayashascha.
Atyahara prayashascha. Rajato niyamagraha.
Daulyam cha.
Janasangascha
Nashyati.
Jadbhirvinashyati.
Nishchayat dhairyat.
Utsaha nishchayat dharyat.
Pravartanat.
Tatkarma pravartanat.
Jagat sato vritte.
Sangachagat sato vritte.
Siddhyati.
Siddhyati.
Pratigrahanati.
Pratigrahanati.
आख्याति पृच्छति
गुरुम् आख्याति
ते भोजयते चैव
भुङ्क्ते भूयते चैव
विलक्षणम्
सर्वविधं प्रेषिलक्षणम्
कृष्णेति यस्य गिरितं मनसा प्रियेता
कृष्णेति यस्य मनसा ध्रियेता
प्रणतिभिश्च भजन्तमीशम्
इच्छाश्च भजन्तमीशम्
भजन विज्ञमनन्यमन्या
शुश्रूषया भजन विज्ञमनन्यमन्या
हृदमीप्सित संगलब्ध्या
संगलब्ध्या
स्वभाव जनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषैर् स्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत्
त्वमिह भक्तजनस्य
खलु
पश्येत्
बुद्बुदफेन पङ्कैर्
भसान्न खलु
त्वमपगच्छति नीरधर्मैः
ब्रह्मोर्वत्वमपगच्छति धीरधर्मैः
कृष्ण नाम चरितादिसिताप्य विद्या रसनस्य नरोचिकानु मादरादनुदिनं खलु सैव जुष्टा भवति तद्गदमूलहन्त्री तन्नाम रूप चरितादि सुकीर्तनानु क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियोज्य भजे तदनुरागी जनानुगामी
तिष्ठन् व्रजे तदनुरागी जनानुगामी
नयेदखिलमित्युपदेश सारम् वैकुण्ठाजनितो वरा मधुपुरी तत्रापि रासोत्सवात्
वैकुण्ठाजनितो वरा मधुपुरी तत्रापि रासोत्सवात्
कारण्यमुदार पाणिरमणात् तत्रापि गोवर्धना राधा कुण्डमिहापि गोकुलपते प्रेमामृता प्लावनात् यादस्य विराजतो गिरितटे सेवां विवेकीनकाः कर्मिभ्यः परितो हरेः प्रियतया व्यक्तिं ययुर्ज्ञानिना तेभ्यो ज्ञान विमुक्त भक्ति परमा प्रेमैकनिष्ठास्तथा तेभ्यस्ताः पशुपाल पंकज दृशस्ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका तेषा तद्वदीयं तदीय सरसी तं नाश्रयेत् कः कृति Krishna yogai pranaya vasati preyasibhyo Radha.
Krishna Pranaya Vasati Preyasi
Indam chasya munibhirabhitas tadrigeva vyadhai.
Kundam Chasya Munibhir Abhitas Tadrik Eva Vyadai
Yadreshairapyalamasulabham kim punar bhakti bhajam.
Yat Prishtem Alam Punar Bhakti Bhajam
Premedam sakridapi sarahas maturaviskaroti.
Tat Premedam Sakritam Apisara
Naturaviskaroti.
Shri Upadeśāmṛtam. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki
Jai.
All right. So now let us begin our discussion on verse number 411. So are you seeing the presentation? PowerPoint? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Shri Upadeśāmṛtam by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, translated into English along with commentary and purports by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Also, detailed in-depth classes by Shriman Hari Parshad Prabhu. The series has resumed after his US tour. We just started the 7th verse today. Syat Krishna Nam Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopatapta Rasanasya Narochikananu Kintva Darad Anudinam Khalu Saiva Jushta Swadvi Kramad Bhavati Tadgada Moolahantri. So that's the, we're going deep into the discussion of the process of bhakti, the abhideya, the process, and the prime process is Krishna Nama Charitadi. So taking the name, or reciting the names, the forms, the Leela, Charita, etc. of Lord Shri Krishna. And by constantly doing it with Adar and Anudinam, Adarad, Kintva, Adarad, Anudinam. Every day when we do it with a lot of feeling, lot of bhava, lot of adar, then the effect is guaranteed. Tadgada Moola Hantri. At this disease will be Hantri, will be killed, will be destroyed at the Moola, at the root. So this is a promise by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Anyway, so take advantage of this wonderful opportunity for his classes. If any of you want to join the Zoom calls, let me know. I can get you added. Otherwise, the lectures are posted online on YouTube, which you can view offline. Okay, last verse today of Shri Upadeśāmṛtam, verse number 11, glories of Sri Radha Kunda. So 9, 10, and 11 are verses that glorify Sri Radha Kunda. 9 and 10 are glorifying the various holy places. 9th is glorifying the holy places. And 10th was glorifying the sequence of devotees culminating into the topmost devotee, which is Srimati Radharani. And the last line was that her Kunda is no different than her, is as dear to Krishna as she herself is. Therefore, we must take shelter, na ashrayet ka kriti. So which person would not take ashraya or shelter of that kunda. And this verse is exclusively about the glories of Sri Radha Kunda. So let us discuss this verse number 11. Okay. I was going to say something, but I forgot. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, never mind. It will come back. So the meter is different of this verse. The previous two verses were Shardula Vikriditam, 19 syllables each. This one is a very special, very sweet meter called Mandakranta, 17 syllables. Anyway, this is not a class on meters or Chanda Shastra. You can discuss that later. But the point being that it is broken down at two places, so to say, or the tune which we use is broken down in two places, which I have shown over there. And the long and short syllables are denoted by the dashes and the dots. Long by the dash and the short by the dot. So anyway, we'll not go into the details since time is less. So we will go into the verse itself. Krishna syochai pranaya vasati preyasi bhyopi radha. So what it means is that it's continuing from the previous verse that Srimati Radharani is the topmost, the most beloved of Lord Shri Krishna. So preyasi bhyo is out of the so many preyasis of Lord Shri Krishna, which are all the gopis. They're all preyasis of Krishna. So out of all those, api Radha, Srimati Radharani is Uchchai. Chai means the topmost. Object of pranaya, vasati pranaya, of the object of love of Krishnasya, of Krishna. So this is just a rearrangement of the words, which is called Anvaya. And the sentence therefore becomes, out of the many beloved gopis, certainly Srimati Radharani is the topmost object of love of Lord Shri Krishna. Second line. Now we go directly into the glories of the Kunda. So the first point that is being made is that Srimati Radharani is the topmost object of, or is the most beloved. Again, object is not the right word. She's not an object, but that's how we would translate in English. You can say topmost personality or topmost person, something like that. But Srimati Radharani is the most beloved of Krishna. And then immediately we equate in the next line that Radha Kunda is similarly the topmost beloved of Krishna. So that is the content or the meaning of second line. Okay, so the first line means what? The supremacy of Srimati Radharani in the eyes of Krishna. Second line means Radha Kunda is no different. It is also topmost in the eyes of, or from the love of Krishna. So, Asya Kundam, her Kunda, her lake, cha Tadrigeva Vyadhai Abhitaha Munibhi. So, her lake is also similarly described as the previous verse describes, that among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the topmost. Among all the kundas possible, Radha Kunda is the topmost. So her lake also is similarly, Tadrigeva Vyadhai is described as in the same way, Abhitaha in all respects by the Munibhihi, by the sages. So the sages have described the superiority or the supremacy of Radha Kunda in exactly the same way. Okay. Now comes, so the first two lines are the theory. What are the facts? As per the Shastras, as per the Munibhihi, what are the facts? Next two lines are what we should do about it. Knowing this fact, now what we should do? So what we should do? We should go and reside at Radha Kunda and take a bath in Radha Kunda. So that is the meaning of the next two lines. So yat preshtair api alama sulabham kim punar bhakti bhajam. So the third line is saying that it's not very easy, and I will go into some details about this. That lake yat is alam asulabham. Sulabha means very easy to obtain. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Aham sulabha partha, that I am very easy to obtain for my devotees. But here it is said alam asulabham, that this lake is very, very difficult, asulabha, difficult to obtain, even for the preshthai. Preshthai means the topmost devotees, and all acharyas have consistently given the name of the four Kumaras and Narada Muni. Anybody knows why these two names have been given by acharyas in the commentaries? You need to have attended the last class for this. So in the last class, if you remember, that there were two levels, premaika nishtha, that was Narada Muni. And the level below that was the four Kumaras. So at those levels of devotees, and that discussion we had last week, of the various levels of devotees, topmost being Srimati Radharani, this Kunda of Radharani, which means that love, that topmost, that 100% love of Lord Krishna is not available to as much as it is available to Srimati Radharani as to others. It is available, but not to that level as much as Srimati Radharani is receiving that love, as how much dear is Radharani to the heart of Lord Sri Krishna. Nobody is dear as much as Radharani is dear. So, of course, other devotees, most advanced devotees, will find it very hard to become so dear to Lord Krishna as Srimati Radharani. Kim punah bhakti bhajam. Bhakti bhajam is being referred to as the practicing devotees who are doing their bhajan in bhakti yoga or Krishna bhakti, whoever is doing their bhajan. So all the practicing devotees, all the sadhakas engaged in sadhana bhakti. Kim punah, what to speak of practicing devotees? How will they become so dear to Krishna when these such elevated devotees, preshthai, like Narad Muni and the four Kumaras, are unable to get that much love of Krishna? So this is showing the rarity of that love of Krishna that is not available to anybody in the whole universe. But even if api sakrit snatuh, one bathes, snatuh means snan karna. Snan means to take a bath or take a dip. Tat saraha, in that kunda, in that sara, in that lake or in that pond, idam prema avishkaroti, then this love of Godhead is fully aroused. So one becomes, in his heart, he attains that mercy of Srimati Radharani, by which one can become dear to Krishna. So there are very subtle points here that one must try to understand. That one does not automatically become, I'm just speaking or saying it sort of, we'll go into details about it in the class, but one does not, or one can never become so dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani is. Just cannot. She is the one and only one, as has been established in verse number 10. But we can become dear to Srimati Radharani. And when we become dear to Srimati Radharani, then because we are dear to her, then we have a chance. Because she is so dear to Krishna herself, if she recommends us, then we stand some chance, some minute chance to attract Krishna's love to some degree. So, and again, we will see, I'm just giving a quick summary. The goal is not to become dear directly to Srimati Radharani. That is also like, very, very, very elevated. So we try to become dear to the servant of Srimati Radharani, those who are serving. But even that is very, very, very elevated. So we try to become dear to their servants. But that is also very elevated. So we try to become dear to servants of the servants of the servants. I forgot whether we are number 3 level or 4. So Srila Prabhupada says that we should try to become the servant of the servant of the servant of Srimati Radharani 1000 times removed. And that 1000 is just a number, but doesn't matter how far removed we are. And that is what is known as sampradaya. So we serve. We are all, and all these points will be made during the discussion, or some of these will be made during the discussion, that we are all Rupanugas. Rupanugas are those who are serving or following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is considered to be the abhideya acharya. Abhideya, everybody understands Sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana. Anybody who doesn't understand this or has forgotten, please raise your hand. Okay. So some devotees are like that. That's fine. So Sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana are the sort of the 3 levels or the 3 sort of progressive steps towards the ultimate goal of Krishna prema, of experiencing the topmost bliss, Krishna prema. The first is known as Sambandha. Sambandha means to realize our relationship with Krishna. Who are we and who is Krishna and what is our relationship? If we do not understand that, then we will not be able to make any progress. In modern terms, you can say setting the direction. Imagine players playing football with no goalposts. There is no goalposts on anywhere on the football field. What will they do? They'll just keep kicking the ball around, not knowing which direction to kick, right? So there is no direction. So Sambandha means we set a direction. Oh, that's our goal. That is Krishna. Abhideya, then that is the big part. Abhideya is to understand the process, how to reach that goal. A nice example given in Shastra is like, let us say your father, or my father passed away. Some astrologer comes and tells me your father buried huge amount of treasure somewhere in the ground. Now it is yours, but you don't know where it is. So Sambandha, that astrologer becomes the Sambandha acharya. He has told us our relationship to that treasure, that it belonged to my father, therefore I have a rightful claim on it, and therefore I should try to find it. So Sambandha has been established. Then we go to somebody else. So he tells us maybe where it is, just the location, but we don't know the path to it. So we go to somebody else, some, I don't know, person who knows the geography. And he tells us how to reach that treasure. So that is known as abhideya acharya, the process. So first we establish our sambandha with Krishna, that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Mameva amsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. We are amsho of Krishna, we are part and parcel of Krishna. And we are brahmande brahmite kona bhagyavan. No, not that one. The other one. What is that? Krishnera Nityadas. Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That we are eternally, our constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So that has been established by the Sambandha Acharya. Then the Abhideya Acharya tells us the process. The process is Bhakti Yoga, Krishna Bhakti. By performing Bhakti, we can attain Krishna. So Rupa Goswami is our abhideya acharya. Sanatan Goswami is considered to be our Sambandha acharya. And then comes prayojana. Prayojana is the ultimate ripened fruit. So when you go there, you dig it, and then you see the treasure there. And then you feel happy. Wow, I got it. So when you reach Vaikuntha, or when you even in the material world, when one becomes fully realized and one is able to experience Krishna prema, then that is known as prayojana. And then those symptoms, internal and external symptoms of complete bliss manifest in one's consciousness, one's, material subtle body, and of course in the soul becomes completely blissful. So who is our prayojana acharya? No, abhideya acharya is already so who is? So Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami is considered to be the prayojana acharya. So we will talk about Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami as well today. Okay. So so that is a sort of a short summary of all the topics that we will cover today. Okay. So could somebody read this plain? This is a plain vanilla translation, just word by word. So who can read in loud, clear voice? Anyone in the room? Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Many beloved gopis, certainly Srimati Radharani is the topmost object of love of Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. Her lake also is similarly described in the scriptures in all respects by the great sages. That lake is very difficult to obtain, even for the most advanced devotees like Narada Muni. What to speak of practicing devotees engaged in sadhana bhakti. But even if once one bathes in that Sri Radha Kunda, then this love of Godhead is fully aroused.
Okay. So let us read Srila Prabhupada's translation to this verse. Somebody else would like to read this? Sure, please go ahead. Please.
Of many objects of favored delight, and all of the lovable damsels of Vrajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object or personality of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kunda is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kunda is very rarely attained even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused.
Okay. So what happens? By bathing once, even once at his snatur, by taking snan, by bathing once in those waters, by the mercy of Srimati Radharani, our love towards Krishna is aroused. Okay. So that is what happens as per this verse. So what is the question that comes to everybody's mind? The big question. Huh?
How could just bathing once?
How could just by bathing once? There are some questions on the chat. I will answer them later. So the big question is, like I have sort of mentioned here, what's the catch? That's the title I chose to give to the slide. Or how is it that so where is Radha Kunda? Huh? Vrindavan. Where is Vrindavan? Uttar Pradesh. Where is that? How do you get there? take a flight to Delhi, and then take a taxi or a cab to Vrindavan, then go to Radha Kunda, then wear your gamcha and take a bath. And then the love for Krishna is fully aroused in your heart. As simple as that. Why we are chanting 16 rounds, why we are doing all this Bhakti Shastri, why we are doing so much work when all you have to do is that. Is that the question in the mind? I've kind of little bit simplifying it, or maybe, dramatizing it, but that's the question. So how to understand? Obviously, it is not wrong what is being said here. And the plain vanilla translation of the Sanskrit, and even Srila Prabhupada is saying, this is Srila Prabhupada's translation, not mine. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Right there in front of you, directly from the pen of Srila Prabhupada. And even in the purport, he says that. We will go over that. So what is the understanding, or what is the catch? How should we understand this verse? Obviously, there are many people who may have taken a dip in Sri Radha Kunda. And I have not taken a dip. I will tell you what I have done. I have just sprinkled a few drops of water on my head. That's what I have done. But I have not, like, full dip I have not taken. But many people have taken, and I would imagine at least that the love of Krishna is not yet fully aroused. So it seems that there is some deeper understanding here. And of course, we don't want to say that what is written here is just to encourage us. Okay, take a dip there, and just, it's not a pep talk in that sense either. There has to be truth to it. It is coming directly from the pen of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada and so many other acharyas in between. So how to fully understand? So let us look at some portions of the purport by Srila Prabhupada. And other previous acharyas also, we will look at that. So first, Srila Prabhupada, all these lines are in the purport. I'm not going to switch to Veda base to prove it. You can go check it if you want yourself, but these are all directly from Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is also recommended that one should live on the banks of Radha Kunda. Okay, so not just take a bath, but live there, and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. So it is not just, sitting in an aeroplane watching all those movies that Delta or United offers on the long flights, and sitting in the cab and doing Facebook and WhatsApp. And then when you reach Radha Kund, you take a dip, and now suddenly it is aroused. Not going to happen. So one has to be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. Okay. Again, then Srila Prabhupada writes, one should bathe there regularly. Not only once, he's saying regularly bathe, and give up all material conceptions, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis. So if we are not doing the prerequisites, so this instruction of taking a bath in Sri Radha Kund is not just an isolated instruction, or it is not, one should not take this one step in a series of steps. Rupa Goswami is who? What acharya? Abhideya acharya. Abhideya means process of attaining the goal. He's like the football coach. First, we have put goalposts on the field. That is Sambandha. Now, the most important duty is of the coach, right? He tells you how to play good football. Then you can become Lionel Messi or whatever. So you need a coach. That's the most important job. Then finally, you lift the World Cup. Okay, fine. That is like the prayojana. But the hardest part is the thing in between. And Rupa Goswami is our abhideya acharya, and he has given us such wonderful process. So we cannot just take one step of the process and think that we will lift the World Cup. Not going to happen. You have to follow all parts of the process. And right here it is being said, giving up all material conceptions and taking the shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis. And then Srila Prabhupada says, if one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, thus, see, every word you must have focus. Srila Prabhupada is not just writing it frivolously. Thus means, this line comes later, thus means as above. Constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radha Kunda. So if you have not contemplated in that way on the banks of Radha Kunda, if you have not given up your material conceptions, if you have not taken shelter in your consciousness, you have not taken shelter of Srimati Radharani in that mood, in that bhava, gopi bhava, like we were discussing last time, you have not been absorbed in the loving service of the Lord, then just, it sounds so easy, like Messi, all you have to do is kick the ball and it will go in the goal. Not going to happen. There is years and years and years and years of sadhana bhakti that is behind it. And then we reach that position. Then you take a dip. Take a bath in Sri Radha Kunda. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Oh, I didn't put an animation there. That's okay. He wrote a set of verses where he says, Nishkapate, first word, Nishkapate, Sei kunde ye kare majjana. Majjana means what? Majjana means cleansing or take a bath. Kunda tare sei prema kare vitarana. The kunda will then give you that prema. Okay. So, but how you have to do your majjana in this kunda? In what consciousness you have to do? Nishkapat. Nishkapat, you all understand? Yes, without any duplicity in the heart. Yet Radha Kund gives such prema. Yes, it has the potency to give prema. Absolutely, there is nothing wrong in Srila Rupa Goswami when he writes that this love will be fully aroused. So the Radha Kund has that capacity to give us that prema. Those who bathe within it sincerely, nishkapate, which means without any duplicity in their heart. What kind of duplicity? So let us see some duplicity points. Duplicity of not performing sincere bhajana, instead pretending to do so. Oh, I'm going to Radha Kunda. On a flight, your Delta flight, you're watching all those movies or whatever they're doing. Not completely absorbed. One has to be completely absorbed. And so many other things. So I cannot raise my hand and say I'm doing sincere bhajana. I'm not. Yes, I can take flight. I can go there. I can put some drops of water also. But all the prerequisite, am I doing? No, I'm trying. Yes, but I'm by no means doing it as well as I know I should. Another point, like we discussed, duplicity of taking shelter of this instruction alone and not following the previous 10 instructions seriously. So you have to follow all the instructions very, very seriously. Not just the last instruction. This is the last instruction. So unless following the 10 instructions previously, it is not like Rupa Goswami could have just given the 11th instruction and done. Just go there, take a dip, and that's it, done. Why he bothered to give the first 10 instructions? Right? He had better things to do if this was not needed. He could have just given 11th one and you're done if that was the only thing that was needed. Why is he confusing us or making our life more complicated if it is unnecessary? So it is 100% necessary, and we should sincerely try to take the shelter of the first 10 instructions as well. There is a reason for those. Okay. And especially out of those, the first 8 instructions. At the end of the 8th instruction, what are the concluding words of the 8th instruction? How does 8th verse end? Iti Upadeśāmṛtam. This is the essence of all instruction. And 9, 10, and 11 becomes then the prayojana verses. Okay. Verse numbers 1 to 6 are known as Sambandha verses of Nectar of Instruction of Upadeśāmṛtam. 7 and 8 are called abhideya verses, chanting the holy name. And then in the next verse starts with Sukirtananu, then Smrityoh Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya, then Tishthan Vraje Tadanuragi Jananugami. So, focusing, engaging our mind and rasana and mana and our tongue and our mana, our mind in the Lord, and then finally following the footsteps of pure devotees. So all those are a sequence that we need to follow. So without doing that, just following the 11th instruction is not going to be as helpful. Of course, taking a bath or taking some drops and putting on your head, or sipping, some devotees sip the water, that's also fine, is definitely beneficial. There is no downside to it. I'll come to it. There are, but it's not going to provide that promised effect in the last line, that the love for Krishna is fully aroused. Duplicity of not sincerely, again, similar things, but I just broke it down into a few bullet points. Duplicity of not sincerely striving to obtain the qualification to become eligible to bathe in Sri Radha Kunda. Sincere attempt should be there. At least a sincere attempt should be there. A very sincere attempt. One should not at least be committing offenses knowingly. Arey, chalta hai. All this is, I will somehow, we have, in the material world, we have been too accustomed. My children or this younger age uses this word called wing it. How many of you are familiar with that term? I was not familiar. Wing it. Arey, somehow or the other, we'll just wing it. As if like, yeah, I sometimes wing it with my boss, with my colleagues, with my wife also. Arey, she says, do this, I'll just quickly, I'll do it. I'll done. Okay. Wing it. And then I will go into, I finished that work. It took me half an hour, whereas I finished it in 5 minutes. And she's, oh, he helped me for half an hour. So wing it. So like that, but Krishna is not like my boss or my wife or something. He can see the reality. So we cannot wing it. So we are so programmed to winging it, we feel like we can wing it. But that is the duplicity. And so again, never think of artificially short-circuiting the process of bhajan and sadhan, which is exactly the instruction in 1 to 8. Therefore, make yourself qualified first by following verse numbers 1 to 8. Okay. And also, if the doubt is arising in someone's mind that, oh, it's too hard to reach the end goal of 1 to 8. I agree it is too hard. But at least a very, very sincere attempt needs to be made. Very sincere attempt. The attempt has to be 100% sincere for a long period of time. And then we will cover what to do next. Okay. So just going back to the fact that one cannot take the last instruction alone, has to take the previous instructions. There's a meaning to it. It's not just, a filler that Rupa Goswami has given for first 10 instructions. It's not just for filler. So we must follow that, and let us see what is the significance of these instructions. These instructions, now here is where I was telling last time, I will reveal a secret in today's class. So these instructions, especially 5 to 8, okay, have a transcendental origin. They have been simply recorded by Srila Rupa Goswami. Okay. They were actually spoken. The author of 5, 6, 7, and 8 is, any guesses? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes. He is himself the author. Author or the speaker. Author means didn't write it, he spoke it. And here is another, sort of punchline or the punch point. So there is another biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is known as Sri Gaurakrsnodaya by Sri Govindadev Kavi Goswami. It's a very less known biography. Very recently, I obtained a copy of it. Translation by His Holiness Bhanu Swami has just come out in English translation of it. So you can obtain it, it's on Amazon. But it is another biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by Sri Govindadev Kavi Goswami, known as Sri Gaurakrsnodaya. And just before disappearing or ending his pastimes in this material world, these verses were spoken. These were the last words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, according to the Sri Gaurakrsnodaya. 5, 6, 7, 8. He spoke 5 verses, 5, 6, 7, 8, and another verse, which is very similar to 9, 10, and 11 in that mood, but that Rupa Goswami has given these verses that we know, Vaikuntha Janito Vara Madhupuri. But the 5, 6, 7, 8 are the last 4 of the last 5 verses spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he disappeared. And so many devotees were there with him, who all heard these verses. And finally, Rupa Goswami also heard the verse through them, and he recorded it in Sri Upadeśāmṛtam. So that is the transcendental origin of the Upadeśāmṛtam. So imagine this is the last word of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that sense. So you can imagine the gravity and it were these instructions. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really is instructing us to follow these instructions. Okay. If you didn't listen to anything else that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, one must at least listen to this. Okay. So that is the answer to that question. So does it answer the question now? Why can't we just sit in a flight, then take a cab, go to Radha Kunda, wear your gamcha and take a dip, and that's it? Problem solved. No need to get up early, no need to chant Hare Krishna, no need to do anything. Prayojana is obtained. Okay. Now, the other big question is to bathe or not to bathe. That is another question that comes up. Or what is the meaning of bathe? So, a little bit history is that now this verse says Snatur Avishkaroti, Snan. It says the word Snan. Okay. So Snan is Snan. And how do you take Snan in a kunda or in a river? You take a dip. Probably take multiple dips. Right? That is called that's the plain understanding. So all previous acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada, have, depending on, again, Srila Prabhupada's instructions need to be understood in context, time, place, and circumstance. So the understanding I have received is that he took some of his very, fixed, I don't know who all were in that group of his disciples to India at one time in 1975, I believe. And he allowed them to take a dip in Sri Radha Kunda. But when they entered Sri Radha Kunda, and they were like, a little bit in a sporting or like a swimming kind of mood. And Srila Prabhupada didn't like that, and he told them to come out and said, no more, nobody goes back into Radha Kunda. And then he said, just take few drops and sprinkle it on your head. So that is my understanding of as things have been recorded by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So that is point number one. Point number two is that I will show you some snippets of room conversations between Srila Prabhupada and some other of his disciples. One of them is Gopalakrishna Maharaj, where he is saying that don't take a bath. So, but we can see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing there directly. We saw that purport, right? Where he's saying that one should bathe regularly in Radha Kunda. Of course, there is a additional instruction as well, but he's not saying don't bathe. One should bathe not once, many times. So how do we understand this? We will discuss. So I will request, so here is one room conversation between Srila, or this is just a, I haven't recorded the whole thing. This is just one thing that Srila Prabhupada said. Would anybody kindly read it? Okay, go ahead. Can you come a little bit here quickly?
Prabhupada, who will live in Radha Kunda? One is a topmost devotee, and if he mixes with third-class devotee, how he is fit for living in Radha Kunda?
So what he's saying, Srila Prabhupada is saying, if he mixes with third-class devotee, that means he's not fully fixed. If you're going, and it's not meaning that he's mixing with third class or some other people who are not very fixed devotees for preaching purposes. It's just because you're like, your consciousness is to have some, mundane discussion. So that was the meaning, that he's mixing, somebody is mixing around with, having mundane discussions. Then how is he fit for living in Radha Kunda?
There's no difference between Radha Kunda and Radharani. So how you can jump over Radharani? Radha Kunda and Radharani, non-different. How you can enjoy Radha Kunda by swimming in it? You cannot touch with your feet even Radha Kunda. You can take little water and keep it on the head. That is respectful to Radha Kunda. Of course, things are going on like that, but strictly speaking, Radha Kunda should be respected as Radharani herself. That is Radha Kunda consciousness, highest Radha Kunda consciousness.
Okay. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying, as you can see there, you cannot be like swimming in it, and to swim you have to kick the water. I have done swimming. I know, without splashing, your feet have to constantly move, otherwise you will drown. Moving the feet is what keeps you afloat in swimming. So you cannot do that. Radharani and Sri Radha Kunda are no different. And of course, to bathe, your feet have to also enter. But in a very, very respectful way, the feet enter. Definitely not like a swimming movement. And it's the consciousness more that matters. A sporting consciousness, definitely not. With just ultimate, respect and a mood of humility and a mood that I am getting this once in a lifetime chance to do this. You don't take it cheap. So that is the message here given by Srila Prabhupada. So that's what I tried to capture. In Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada is saying that one should bathe regularly, even if one takes a bath once. These are all from the purport in the first bullet. But then in the room conversations, he is mentioning that don't do that. So there are multiple understandings, okay? And we need to understand the context behind those. And the context is that why he said those in the room conversation discussion is because of the consciousness of those devotees, at least as he felt, and they were his disciples. So Guru has full right. It's not like he's just passing a judgment on somebody. He is the Guru. He is the one person who has the full right to judge the disciple. And his judgment is that don't do it. And that's it. Okay. So we need to understand it in the proper context. But Srila Prabhupada saying no doesn't mean that now the instruction by in the Upadeśāmṛtam is falsified. Okay. So then the question becomes, what should we do? So let us see what we should do. So we will read another passage, and I'm coming through this passage to the understanding of what we should do. So another passage by a room conversation with Srila Prabhupada. Who will like to read? Somebody on Zoom can read this time. Nice and clear and slow and loud. Ram,
Can I read?
Madhav Gauranga Prabhu raised his hand, so let him read. Madhav Gauranga Prabhu, are you
Yes,
able?
sir. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, I just unmute myself. Srila Prabhupada, room conversation, August 16, 1976, Bombay. Prabhupada, he has taken our form. Has he taken order from Guru Maharaj that I am going to jump over Radha Kund? Why does he go? Daily singing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Aruna Kariya. Why should he desire like that? Gopal Krishna Maharaj. There are some devotees who always want to. Prabhupada, they are not devotees, rascals. Don't say some devotees. Devotees will hear equal to Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kariya Aikya Arana Karihe Mane Achyutananda. They also wear the Radha Kund Mati Tilaka. Hare Krishna.
No, keep going.
Okay. Prabhupada, there is no harm, but they should understand what is Radha Kund and how to deal with Radha Kund. Raghunatha Dasa Goswami showed how to live in Radha Kund. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natibi Kala Vasani Krito. He was circumambulating Radha Kunda, falling down, making a mark. That is Radha Kunda Vasi. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Nativi. Not only counted holy names, but offering obeisances so many 100 times in distinct. That is Radha Kund. He is so much vairagya he showed. He can take bath in the Radha Kund. First of all, do this like Raghunatha Dasa Goswami.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, what is Srila Prabhupada saying after this incident? Okay, that you can take bath in Radha Kund, but first you must develop the qualification. And he is giving the example of who? Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, a very, very high standard, but he's saying, and Raghunatha Dasa Goswami used to regularly take bath in Radha Kund. But you have to first at least make a sincere attempt to purify your consciousness like Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. And then maybe you can take bath in Sri Radha Kund. And definitely, like he said, jumping over something like that, right? I'm going to jump over Radha Kunda or something, So he said, you have to follow the order of the Guru. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Kariya Akya. That Guru's order is like Guru's instruction is like my order. Your wish is my command, kind of thing. It's not non-negotiable. So that is what we sing every morning. But then when Guru is saying something, then we ignore. So that's not okay. So Shastra, Upadeśāmṛtam is Shastra, gives a general instruction. But on a case-to-case basis, the instruction comes from Guru. So that is the point being made. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, I'm altering the general instruction. General instruction, nobody goes. But first, develop the consciousness, develop the, what was I going to say? the consciousness and the mood and the make a serious attempt for that and obtain permission from Guru, then maybe you can do what the Guru says. So that should be the process. Directly, that is the understanding I'm getting from reading these words. So that is how I harmonize the room conversation with what is there in the books, in the verses, and in the purport. Make sense? At least, are you getting what the way I'm at least putting it together? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So here, whose example is given once again? Raghunath Dasa Goswami. He is our prayojana acharya. Prayojana acharya means what? Who has attained
Practical teacher.
Ultimate goal.
the ultimate goal. And what do you get from ultimate goal? No. Okay, Krishna prema. So now this is new question. Again, since we are all such materialists, and I'll give a material example, right? Yeah, I'm a materialist, and I'm used to be a football fan. So today's football example we are using, right? So in if I would take me back 20 years back, whose poster on the wall would you see in my room? Maradona, yeah, let's say, right? And what kind of a poster? Huh? When he's lifting the World Cup or something, right? So what do you get from that? Why do you put that up? What's the one word you would say? Inspiration. Yes, inspiration. So, prayojana acharya, we look at them. Yes, we know there is a lot of abhideya, there is a lot of very hard process that they have adopted, like Srila Prabhupada is saying here, so much vairagya he showed. And I will show you, he not only counted the holy names, offering obeisances around Radha Kund, he would like give Dandavat Parikrama. You know what is Dandavat Parikrama? So he would do Dandavat Parikrama around Radha Kund like this. And not just external, even his mood, his vairagya, we'll see some points. Then one can, so by looking at Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, we can get inspiration. Wow. So constantly we should, of course, there's no poster like that, but we can make a nice picture. We can put up the verses. We can read some of his writings at an advanced stage. His writings are very, very, very advanced. But like that, when we reach to that stage, then we can get the inspiration from him. So just a little bit on Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami at Sri Radha Kunda. So he was the one that showed the exemplification of residence at Sri Radha Kunda. How should one reside at Radha Kunda? Again, not for the purpose of showing. He was not like trying to be an example, but he just is the example for us. He was just doing it out of his own bliss, out of his own desire. First of all, he was an extreme example of renunciation and detachment. It's not just, love and bhava and just crying out Radhe or anything. That is like a very, very tiny part. The big, big part is the renunciation and detachment. First, he started eating less and less and less. And like that, came through a long process from Jagannath Puri to Radha Kunda in Vrindavan. There he would eat less, and then he would eat from the trash can, what people have left over. Then not only from the trash can, after the animals have eaten the trash can, they also scour the trash can. Whatever they have left over, what animals wouldn't eat, he would eat. And like that, he came down. Now, we cannot imitate this level. It has to come naturally. And we must have the faith that Krishna and Srimati Radharani are not, that is the ultimate goal. So they will show their mercy way before that. But that was his level that he came through. And then he would take only a palmful of buttermilk every few days. And even that he used to consider a luxury. It is said, to himself, your body is growing fat every day by day. Why you are indulging in so much opulence? You're having, this buttermilk every, you should stop. So he was constantly, this was his level of renunciation, his vairagya. So that is first point. And he never accepted any money or even a penny for himself. But for seva, he was the one who took a huge donation from a big merchant and used all that money to make a big Radha Kunda. It was a small Radha Kunda, it seems, but he made it much bigger so that many devotees can take advantage, can take benefit of Sri Radha Kunda. And it is written by acharyas that at an advanced age of 80, he would do Dandavat Parikrama. And he would crawl on the banks of Radha Kunda, calling out Radhe, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, like that. He would genuinely, like in his mood of separation from Srimati Radharani or Krishna, he would call out like that. And devotees could hear him crying like a baby on the banks of Radha Kunda. They could hear this, like a sobbing kind of a sound. So that is Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. So at least, we can be like at least 1% in that direction. Then we can even think of taking a bath or a dip in Radha Kunda. Not by just taking a flight because we have a fat bank account and can pay for flight ticket and go there. Okay. So that is the understanding. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura says that he takes us into slightly different direction. That bath does not mean diving into the water with our physical body. So there is the Radha Kunda obviously is a, the benefit that one gets, what is written in the verse, is not a material benefit, is it? Arousing prema for Krishna is not at all material, not even half 1.001% material. It's fully spiritual. So therefore, this taking a bath is not something material. How can something material cause a spiritual benefit? Not possible. How can anything material, when we do our chanting, it is also spiritual? It is the transcendental name that we take. So a material, otherwise a tape recorder, which we have a tape recorder we bought for 100 rupees, that tape recorder should have gone to Vaikuntha. It is constantly chanting. That tape recorder has chanted way more than we have, or collectively than in the whole room. It's the Nam Acharya. So it is not material, but it's not meant in the physical sense. So our soul should bathe. It means that our soul must bathe in the Radha Kunda. So these are directly the words spoken by Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So we must therefore develop the spiritual consciousness first. That is the meaning. And then when we can physically take a bath, but we are taking the name Hare Krishna, we chant the mantra with our physical tongue, with our physical throat. All that is physical only. Okay, but that's why when our consciousness is pure, then otherwise we are licking the bottle from the outside. When the consciousness is pure, when we are chanting with intensity, with bhava, then it begins to have little effect. So, therefore, with that consciousness, when with our material body we take a bath, the effect will manifest in the same way. Then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, it's not just Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, take some water, put it on your head. That's how you should bathe. Okay, never touch your feet, even put your feet in the Radha Kund. One time I went to Radha Kund, there were some people as if it's like your neighborhood lake. with the feet in the water and just the rest of the body outside, sitting as if like, cooling off your foot, like getting a foot massage kind of. Not okay. That's the last thing. That's not even the last. That's the most, you can try to put the rest of your body and keep the feet outside if possible. They only had the foot inside and rest of body outside. Ignorance, avidya, that's okay. So that should definitely not be done. Take some water, and if you would like, sip some water. Take a sip of the water. All that is fine. Do not touch your feet to Sri Radha Kunda. And then he goes on to say, to bathe in Radha Kund is to transform ourselves wholesale and identify with the interest of Radharani and nothing beyond that. That means complete service attitude to Srimati Radharani. Going back to the thing we talked about almost half an hour, 1 hour back. Seva of Srimati Radharani. And how do we say do seva of Srimati Radharani? Yeah, through the sampradaya, through the parampara, by serving the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Srimati Radharani 1,000 times removed. So then that is the way to align our interest with the interest of Radharani, and that is the consciousness. So that is to serve Srimati Radharani in her service to Krishna. That is the process. That is what Rupa Goswami has advised. And he is our abhideya acharya. He is our process acharya. He has given the recipe. So we have to follow the recipe. So his recipe is to serve Srimati Radharani, or serve those who are serving, or serve those who are serving like that. Because Srimati Radharani is constantly in the mood of service to Sri Krishna. Okay. Last slide for today. So bathing or not, final question. To bathe or not to bathe, right? What to do? So first, make yourself qualified by sincerely following the Upadesha that has been given from 1 to 8. And then who ultimately decides if one is qualified or not? Do you get to decide? Who decides? Guru decides. Well, what is the first step before that? What is a prerequisite for Guru to decide?
Take shelter of Guru. Take shelter of the Guru.
Exactly. Guru होना चाहिए ना, तभी तो Guru decide करेगा. Guru ही नहीं है तो कौन सा Guru decide करेगा भाई? If there is no Guru, which Guru will decide? He will say, I am my own Guru, I decide. In computer security, there is something called self-signed certificate. You sign your own certificate. So those certificates are called untrustworthy. You don't trust a self-signed certificate. So first thing is to take permission of a Guru before even thinking of taking a bath. The first step is to take permission from Guru. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada's instruction also is. But for that, one must have the presence of a bona fide Guru in one's life. So technically speaking, those who have not taken shelter of a Guru, there itself, there is a barrier. Who would you ask? You cannot say, I am my own Guru. Somebody else has to say. And that person has to be an authorized person. You cannot make your friend your Guru. Oh, you become my Guru, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I'll give you a certificate, you give me a certificate. So all that doesn't work. And then, first of all, one doesn't feel even qualified to ask the Guru. Now you have a Guru. Now you know in your heart, how can I ask a Guru? You're like, already you know the Guru knows my reality. And I know my reality. How to even approach? You feel ashamed. So if that is the case, then just follow the general instruction given by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, by Srila Prabhupada. Okay, go to Radha Kunda, there is no problem. Pay Dandavat Pranam to Radha Kunda. Take some water with your hands and sprinkle it on your head. That you can do without permission. And even if you were to ask your guru, or you don't even need a guru, they will give. That's a general instruction given in the book, in conversations, and everywhere. And then you can sing some prayers there. You can chant Upadeśāmṛtam. You can chant the Shat Goswami Ashtakam. There is a Radha Kunda Ashtakam also. You can chant some nice prayers and do your sincere japa there, sitting there, and visit the various. There are so many places of samadhis and so on. You can visit all those places near Radha Kunda and develop that consciousness and pray that one day I become qualified when my guru will permit me to take a dip, if that is the goal. But again, the goal should not be the dip. The goal should be to purify the consciousness. On the other hand, if one feels the inspiration, okay, I'm not very qualified, not that one feels qualified. As not, if you feel I'm fully qualified, that itself is a red flag. But if you feel the inspiration to request the guru, and if the request, if he obviously would never feel that one is qualified, but mercifully he may allow, then do as they instruct. They may say, not now, maybe some years later, they may give some other instruction, do this, this, this first. Then maybe we can discuss few years later. Or they may say, okay, take a quick dip and come out very respectfully. Like that they may, whatever they may say, you do that. So the purpose, this is the last slide, of the 11th instruction is to give us the confidence, to give the confidence in the heart of the sadhak, that if we follow all these instructions sincerely, 1 to 10, and then of course the 11th one, which means to take a dip very, very respectfully, if allowed by the guru, then Srimati Radharani will definitely bestow Krishna prema in the sadhak's heart. Definitely then we will lift the cup. You do this, you do this, you do this, sincerely you do all these things, and then finally you do the last step. Definitely the mercy will flow. Srimati Radharani's mercy will flow. And then Krishna may get attracted to us, or may look towards us, just like he is attracted to Srimati Radharani. Okay. One last point, beware of sahajiyas. There is this another class of people who are kind of pseudo devotees, who are imitationists. So many acharyas, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj especially, and Srila Prabhupada also talks about them all over the place, has warned that one should not go down that route. They are imitationists. They take this process of abhideya very cheaply. They just look at the end result of Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. Oh, I'm a, one can think I'm a mridanga in the spiritual world. You are a mridanga player in the spiritual world. And then they will just enact, oh, you are playing mridanga on me. And then all these, kind of little bit of drama and all that may be there. And then behind the scene, you will see them doing some mundane materialistic activity. So one must be they imagine their siddha deha in the spiritual world. I am this, I am that, and try to act accordingly. It's like just acting, like a actor pretending to act. So basically the point is they take spiritual progress too lightly, cheaply, easily. Again, maybe some are just innocent. They don't know. I'm not saying everybody is malicious. It may be due to ignorance, it may be due to ill advice, it may be due to whatever reason. Okay. So one must beware of them. Not everybody you may see taking a bath in Radha Kund may be like, oh, if he can take, I can also take. There are all different 1,000 people, 1,000 flavors, 1,000 colors. So it's not your job to kind of take a statistic. This is not a statistical output. Oh, out of all the people that come to Radha Kund, 50% took a bath. Okay, so it's in my favor. I can also take. No, this not a, in this case, sorry, it's not a democracy. It's not like judgment by vote. Okay, this is judgment by Guru Ashraya, Guru Padashraya. So we take shelter of Guru and do what the Guru says. Guru may give us a completely opposite instruction than what he gives to 1,000 other people. For one person, he may give a completely different instruction, but that is the instruction that person needs to follow. Never mind what he told to the 1,000 people. So it is not by voting, it's not by numbers. All right. So with that, we conclude our discussion of Sri Upadeśāmṛtam. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
All right. So let us see any questions or comments. So there are some on the chat. Radharani is incarnation of Lakshmi of Vaikuntha. Is Radharani. So again, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So again, remember. So in a general level, if I'm asked on a public forum, I will say, yes, that's correct. Okay. That's the public, what you say, safe answer. No problem answer. Now, if we are in an assembly of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, then Srimati Radharani is the original personality. And Mother Lakshmi is the incarnation of, or the, expansion or incarnation of Srimati Radharani. Okay, so that is the actual answer. I will not say as Gaudiya Vaishnava, I am a Gaudiya Vaishnava, but you need to believe it in your bones. You cannot say, my books say so. Then that means like, oh, my books say so. And me, I don't know where I am. I'm still making up my mind what I believe. No. Then you have some way to go. Okay. Next question is there a significance as to why each Goswami is in charge of the Sambandha, abhideya and prayojana? Because of what they have given us primarily. And this distinction is provided by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So he has read the writings and all that, and that has been their mood. From their writings, from their instructions, we understand that what their emphasis is. It is not like every line written by Rupa Goswami, he has never written about anything about prayojana. That is not the case. He wrote the whole Ujjwal Neelamani, which is very, very esoteric. But again, you get the point. His biggest work is what? Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Most important work, not biggest by volume, but by significance. That is all about the process of bhakti. What is the meaning of not attained? Is it understood as not able to take bath? I don't know what, at what time we mentioned it or I mentioned it and in what context would not attained. So I hope the context was clear whenever I said it. I don't remember when I said the word not attained.
It may be from the translation. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain.
From the translation by Srila Prabhupada.
Very rarely attained even by a great devotee, therefore is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain.
Okay, so in the therefore it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. Yeah, so this is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to access, we can say, but access in reality, in actuality. Yes, as we said, you can take a taxi and go there and, take a dip. That's in the physical sense, but actually accessing the potency and receiving the benefit.
And like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura is saying, we're not physically taking a bath, it's our mental consciousness.
Yes.
It's our identification of who we are and our relationship with Radha. Srimati Radharani is what it sounds like he's talking about in the slide that you put up.
Correct.
That our inner consciousness of our.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Prabhuji. So yes, attain in a spiritual sense, not in a physical sense.
Which is way harder than physical aspect of it.
Yes. But the access is through a physical action. But that is why purification of our spiritual consciousness is very important. And then once we take permission from Guru, we can do the physical act and then hope that it works.
And if we're looking at the translation, Rupa Goswami is not saying that when one attains prema, they can take the bath.
No.
Because he's saying that you arouse prema. That means that you haven't even gotten to prema yet. It means that prema is awakening in your heart at that point because of that.
Yeah, so this is part of the process. It is not the prize. It is the process. And that is why it is coming from the pen of Rupa Goswami. So yes, but this is one of the last step of the process. And then it becomes accessible or it becomes potent. Okay. You cannot just I don't know, in medical science or whatever, you have to do the first 5 steps and then you just do the last step. You cannot just jump to the last step and hope the disease goes away. You have to do all the previous steps before that. Okay. Can we take a dip in Radha Kunda? Are we that eligible? Okay, I hope we discussed that. This question was at 6:38. So I think we discussed that. What is the process to come to that? Even consider that question for oneself. And if that question comes up, how to resolve it? I think we talked about it. Am I audible on the Zoom?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Oops, long question came up. Let's see. If we bring Radha Kund water with us here, is sprinkling on our head the same as taking bath in Radha Kund? Yes. That's what our acharyas are saying. Bring it here? Yes. Of course, you can bring it in a little whatever cup and give it to your family members also, friends, and they can sprinkle on their head. Again, somebody said instead of bath, one can have holy dip. I think we covered that. Then someone, the exact place of Radha Kund as per GPS. It's very popular. I mean, it's very, you won't miss it. You don't need GPS or anything. And I don't think there is no herds car or anything in Vrindavan that you will drive yourself. You go to Vrindavan, you pay taxi person the money and they tell him to go to Radha Kund. Every single taxi person in Vrindavan will know where it is. You don't need any GPS. Okay, here's a long question. Siddha Deha, may have missed previous class, is a specific Siddha Deha attained and end by conscious efforts based on one's consistent inclination or rasa in bhakti to Krishna. If one has a certain mood or a relationship to Krishna one feels drawn to, does one seek the process does one seek the process to develop it? How does one with Siddha Deha perceive function in the external body if they no longer identify with it? Seems strange to have two bodies simultaneously. A very, very deep question. Okay. I will defer it, sorry, to the devotee who asked this question. This is something I will need to think, prepare, and then respond. I'm not advanced enough to give a instant response to this, but a good portion of this will be covered in Nectar of Devotion. And plus we will discuss the meaning of Siddha Deha, how one realizes the Siddha Deha, how or what should one do to realize it, how one realizes, and then what happens after, and so on. Very, very deep questions. I think for myself, again, I have to teach Bhakti Shastri. I have been given that responsibility. To a certain extent, I have earned it as well through various, tests and other evaluations and everything through the Mayapur Institute. So I am teaching to the best of my ability, but being a Bhakti Shastri teacher doesn't make me a Goswami by any stretch. So, let me teach Bhakti Shastri level topics. This is a little bit, as you say, above my pay grade. And but a very nice question. I know some of the answers, theoretical answers, because I have read so much. So I can give you, if this is the answer, this is the question, that's the answer. I'm good at reproducing stuff, so, but I cannot say I have a deep understanding. So I will, take a rain check on this question, but a very nice question. And our goal in either case is right now to very sincerely do our process of bhajana. That I can tell you 100% that is the process. Whatever is the answer to this question, it will matter once I become at least way more advanced. Till then, the path it's like asking, where is the fork 200 miles away? Okay, first I know I need to drive on this road for the next 200 miles. Hopefully by then the answer to which fork to take or what to do will become clear. And that is why we must take the shelter of a guru who can answer this level of questions. Okay. The guru can only take you so far as his own level. He cannot take you farther. Okay. If you want to win World Cup, you have to get a World Cup type guru, class guru. You got to get coaching from Messi. But if you want to win your state level championship or whatever, yes, you can go to somebody else as well. But once you are at that level, then you need to look, okay, now I need the next level. So, yeah. So I'm your state level, whatever, coach or whatever, county level or whatever is the lowest level, I'm at that level. I'm not anybody. All right. Anything else?
I have one thing on it.
Yes, Prabhuji, please add.
So you talked about Raghunatha Dasa Goswami's vairagya, and I just would like to share one aspect that for us sadhakas, it's, I think, important to remember that Raghunatha Dasa Goswami is not doing vairagya to attain bhakti. That he is a symptom of his prema is to give up things that are related to preserving the body. So his renunciation, detachment, drinking one palm, like he said, I'm growing so fat, I'm taking this. It's because he's taking too much time, right? He's taking 5 minutes out of his bhajana to drink buttermilk, right? And then when he got a big thing of buttermilk, because it wasn't from Radha and it was from Chandravali's place, he was completely absorbed in Radharani's seva. So it's not that he's like, I'm going to give up everything so that way I can engage in bhajan. It's more like, I want to engage in bhajan, so I'm giving up these things. You understand the difference? So we don't, it's not that we, attain perfection by giving up, by renunciation and detachment, but renunciation and detachment develops what word to use, like, yeah, it's a byproduct, exactly. A byproduct of our bhajana, by our devotional consciousness, our level of devotional consciousness. And that even like when he was a householder before, Lord Chaitanya told him to just stay as you are. When the time comes that Krishna will deliver you, then you can give up the things of this world. But for many, many years, he lived as a householder, just doing his duty. But he was doing his duty in love for Krishna. The Lord Chaitanya told him do it like you're a first-class materialist, but the purpose of why you're doing it is to please Krishna. And then when the opportunity came, he ran to Lord Chaitanya and gave it all up. And then, as Prabhuji said, his level of renunciation just increased from there. But even in his house, he was living out in the veranda, sleeping outside. His top level, it's beyond anything that we could even think about trying to imitate, not even possible. But his spirit is there. The spirit of renunciation that he had, we can emulate, but not imitate. Even if we can't do that, right? We can't live out under a tree, probably. I mean, I know I couldn't. I died like within like a short time, right? But we can emulate that mood by desiring to, use all of our resources, our time, our energy in service to Krishna for his attention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very, very realized devotee. I'm very, very thankful that you added these additions, and thank you so much for your inspiration, your encouragement. I really, really appreciate it. Very inspired. I'm personally very inspired from you. Okay. Anything else? Yes. Yes.
What's the significance of Radha?
We couldn't hear the conversation at the Zoom.
Oh, you could not?
What?
I got this.
No.
I knew that some conversation. I got this $100 mic so that you can hear. Too bad. Sorry. But Prabhuji was basically the essence of what he described. Can you hear me? What he described basically is that Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami what the vairagya that he, the symptoms of vairagya that we could see were not, first of all, in order to attain the prema, they were not something like he was doing an austerity on himself so that, to gain some end result. They were just naturally present within him. He was just naturally very detached. Was that,
He didn't want to, he thought of it as wasting time in his bhajana.
And the second point is that all these material activities, even spending 5 minutes in eating or something, would be he would consider as an interruption or a disturbance or a waste of time in his bhajan. Whereas when one time one of the gopis, Chandravali, bought a whole pot full of buttermilk to him.
One of the devotees brought it, and it was from Chandravali's area.
From Chandravali's area, okay. And then he relished it over a long period of time.
No, he didn't take it at all.
Oh, he didn't.
Threw it because it was from Chandravali's area.
Oh,
That's
because of the
Radharani's
yeah, because she's kind of
she's the rival.
rival. Yes, okay. So yes.
So he didn't relish it at all. He threw it and didn't eat the whole day.
Okay, got it.
That's an important point.
That's an important point. I took it in the reverse way. I didn't catch the Chandravali and Srimati Radharani connection.
From
Yes,
Saki Stali. They got a big
Yes.
piece there in Saki Stali.
very nice. All right. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, wanted to hear from you, if it's relevant. How do other sampradayas, what's the significance of Radha Kunda in other sampradayas of Vaishnavism? And also, if some of the devotees who have been to Radha Kunda, if they can share briefly if their experience, what their experience was visiting.
So the question is, how do other sampradayas view Sri Radha Kunda? I will just say I don't know much, but my understanding would be that they consider it as a holy place. But remember the discussion we had 2 classes ago. So, it is the Gaudiya Vaishnavas who relish the topmost, the most sweetest aspect, or Radha Kunda as being the most topmost place, holy place, the sweetest place. But others pay respect, but I don't think there is any sort of gradation or anything. But any genuine bona fide sampradaya will have a lot of, just like we have respect for all the other Vaishnava sthalis, whether it is Sri Rangam or Udupi or any such place, or Rameshwaram or Badrinath or Kedarnath, so on. Okay.
I also don't
Anything
know
you want to
much.
add?
I also don't know much, but one of the devotees who do the serve a Gopalji on top of Govardhan, the walk with Sampradaya said.
The Vallabha Sampradaya,
The Vallabha Sampradaya.
Pushti Marg.
The Pushti Marg, they have like a Madhurya mood. It's a little bit different than the Gaudiya mood, but you see them at Radha Kunda a lot there. There's a lot, like, because there's a lot of, their main place is also Vrindavan. So you see them throughout Vrindavan a lot, and they're quite absorbed. But there's a little bit different mood, a little bit. It's a long topic, but the Swakiya and Parakiya mood is a little different between the 2 sampradayas. But Radha Kunda is such an amazing and sweet, relishable place. And there's so much potency there. Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, all have bhajan salis there. And I mean, if you meditate on these verses that Rupa Goswami is giving and do some, sadhana, bhajan at Radha Kunda, it's very potent. His short verses like, if you're sincere, Srila Prabhupada said the way to attract Krishna is to serve Srimati Radharani. So she's very exceedingly merciful. And, her love for Krishna is so deep, like she wants to bring everybody in, right? She wants everybody to experience that. So it's a very, very wonderful place. You were there, we were there together. You like it?
I was there only for a few minutes, but you spent a few days, and maybe you should share more. It's so nice to hear your experience.
are you able to catch this conversation on the Zoom, or it's not audible? No.
Not
Okay, so we'll end the class here. We'll probably continue some more in the room, but we'll end the class here officially. Thank you so much. And we'll catch up more. We'll not have a class next week, or stay tuned on the announcements. So, but our Upadeśāmṛtam series is done. We might do something else. We'll see before we start Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
you should encourage the devotees to read the purport. Srila Prabhupada's purport is like,
Yeah.
it's super,
Yep.
super nice.
Prabhuji is saying, please, and I obviously must read all the purports of Srila Prabhupada, and especially this one is a very, very powerful purport.
There's some devotees that say Prabhupada didn't give us everything, right? You need to get Rag Bhakti or these higher things from somebody else. But Prabhupada, like this devotee Sai who's asking these questions, read Prabhupada's purport. A lot of these questions are answered here.
Mhm.
I mean, there's lots more detail that Vishwanath Chakravarti did, but yeah, I think it's an important thing to remember that or to understand that these devotees who do these things, like just right here, Prabhupada gives us everything in this purport in summary.
Hope you got that. So essentially the point is, please go through Srila Prabhupada's purport carefully. Try to read it slowly and carefully and understand what is being said. There is meaning behind sometimes each word or each sentence. So don't read it like quickly. Try to see as you are reading, try to think what is being said, repeat it in your mind, or try to analyze it in your mind, or rephrase it in your mind. What did this line mean? That way you will gain more. Okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.